Hello everyone, how y'all doing? Welcome to another PS Book Reviews. Today we're going to talk about A Fire Upon the Deep by Vernor Vinge. I heard of this book for the first time because of the demo scene. There was this demo called A Fire Upon the Deep, and they just referenced this science fiction title because it sounded cool. They didn't actually had read the book itself. But since I'm into science fiction, I decided why not take a look at it. It's quite thick, as you can see, and it's won a Hugo Award, so it's quite famous bestseller sort of thing. So a lot of people probably know it already. I'm not a big fan of space sagas sort of thing. I think the main space saga-ish books that I read were the Isaac Asimov Foundation series and the Dune series by Frank Herbert. So I was just interested. I mostly know space science fiction stuff from Star Trek and Star Wars and those kind of things. Firefly. Those kind of series and not comic books, what's called graphic novels that also refer, well, there are some comics about space traveling and space, outer space and other beings, other civilizations, and how that relates, and science to go across worlds. Anyways, it's an interesting topic overall. I don't usually like the drama in those kind of things, but I do like the science fiction part that makes you think about how societies can get organized and that kind of thing. And I was really pleasantly surprised with The Fire Upon the Deep. The story was very good to get into. It reads sort of like a thriller, so it was really you keep going through it, and it's a couple of stories in parallel to each other, which culminate into a single storyline. So it's pretty much the story of this group or a family that goes away from perversion, as they call it, that is happening in a certain solar system, and they have to escape into this world that is still feels like it's in medieval age sort of thing, and the people there are of a different sort than the usual humans. They are a different kind of species, and the way that they operate brings a lot of questions and ideas about how groups work, how people work and interact with other people, individuality and group individuality. So, sort of like exploring what is for us known as ants and bees behavior, which is like the group doing work for itself. They try to narrow it down into some sort of a person-sized group, so smaller kind of groups, and they bridge all the pros and cons of that in a way that it's just following the storyline. They don't really focus about that in terms of philosophy, but they end up hinting a lot of those kind of things. It's a very interesting concept. Just thinking how that civilization could have progressed in that way really gives a lot of food for thought, and how it compares to the way that humans are, developing throughout the ages. If it would make sense, if we would go into more of a group mentality, like the same way that we have family sort of thing or a small tribe sort of thing, how it could be different somehow. And at the same time that we have this storyline of this family that arrived into this planet with its inhabitants, we have the storyline of another human or humanesque character that derived from what used to be Earth. She's called Ravna, and she's a librarian of some sort. She's living in this new planet, and the planet is investigating, or some elements in that planet are investigating what happened to this perversion that the other family is escaping from, and a lot of things happen. I don't want to spoil the storyline, but she gets in contact with a few different kind of species, which are also very interestingly narrated, and they have their own ways of behaving and ways of having evolved through the millennia, and that's also very well described. It also maps out the entire universe as different kind of zones where light speed works in different ways. They call it the slow zone, and the upper zone, and the transcend. And those concepts are also very interesting. I don't feel them very realistic, but I can imagine them being a possibility, and was good enough to be immersed into. As I was reading this, I was imagining a lot of stuff like Star Trek, and it's very compatible with the kind of technology that you see in Star Trek and the kind of different races and those kind of things that you see in Star Trek. But it felt like it had a touch of its own and some ideas of its own, which was really cool to see. The Scrolled Riders were really interesting as well, in terms of species, how they evolved, how they relate to other species. And it also gives some food for thought on how civilizations and commerce and how the whole universe still functions. Another very interesting aspect is the way that the worlds communicate. It ends up being some sort of network, not very unlike the internet that we know, or the bulletin board systems that we can have on the internet, which makes some sort of sense. After all, it's communications and it's relaying points, and bandwidth is important, and relay points are important. So it's interesting to see that parallel, how it can translate into interstellar communications, I guess is the right word to describe it. And those dynamics also work very well to not saturate the story, and give a different take, different approach, different view from other species and other parts of the universe into what was happening with the main storyline. So that was a refreshing take to also explain the story. Overall, I really liked the book. I recommend it. I can understand why it got awards. Really well written, and for 600 page thing, great writing, editing, revising. It's very well written. Totally polished as it should be for an award-winning novella. Can this be called a novella? It's quite thick to be called a novella, so it's probably something else. I can't call it a romance though. It's a book, whatever. Got a lot of praise from other reviewers as well, and I completely understand the praise. If anyone is interested in discussing some specific elements of this with spoilers, feel free to post below on the comments, and we can do a follow-up video or just chat about it if you're interested. So yeah, it was something that I really enjoyed, and I wish I could talk more with other people about some certain aspects of this book without spoiling stuff, which is what I don't want to do on this particular review. So yeah, it's that. So thanks for watching the video, everyone. If you like these kind of reviews and you would like me to do more of them, check out my Patreon, patreon.com/psenough. Otherwise, have good reads. See you next video. Bye bye, everyone. Take care.